Alright, so we're back with another episode of RC Hot Tip, and this should be a really nice, short, quick one because all I'm going to be doing is installing this power system in my E5HX. Now, the power system that we're going to be installing is a ZTW Beast, and these have just come into stock at Metro Hobbies. There's, I think, 3 or 4 different versions of these with different motor sizes and KV, so you can pick one to your liking. The one that I've chosen for this particular car is probably a little bit overkill, but that's fine because you know, it's a little bit experimental. These cars traditionally can run up to 3S LiPo, and on 3S they're actually pretty good. You know, you can get about mid 60 kilometers an hour, somewhere in there, 65-ish. But with this power system, I should be able to go to 4S, which I'm hoping the car can handle. But it really comes down to the gearing. So the motor is a 3660 3500 kV. It's a 4-pole motor, but it does come with a 5mm shaft. And this is important to note because a lot of these systems tend to go into 10-scale cars, and 10-scale cars aren't traditionally known for having motors with 5mm shafts. So given that this runs Mod 1 gearing, finding a pinion to go on here should not be an issue at all. The ESC is 120 amp. Pretty straightforward. It's got a little sliding switch and it's got a little set button on there as well. And then something to keep in mind is that this does not come with connectors, so you are going to need to solder on your connectors. You know, you can even cut the cables to suit and so on. It does have the 4mm bullets on there already for your motor, so that'll just plug straight in. But yeah, you're just going to need to put on your own connectors there. The E5HX, hey look, this is a body that I painted up quite a long time ago. I haven't even used it, so I'll just pop that to the side. And this one, a long time ago, I actually did a whole upgrade video on this car, and it got a whole slew of upgrades. So we've got the aluminium chassis brace here, we've got the aluminium body posts front and rear, we've got the upgraded shock towers, which are CNC machined, the upgraded shocks as well. These are aluminium. These are absolutely gorgeous shocks, and I actually put some rather thick oil in this, which is fine because I'm going to be jumping it, so you know that'll come in handy. I think you know, after all these upgrades and everything, the 2 most important ones that you do need to get are your skid plates for your front and rear. If you can only afford one of them, get the front. But I definitely recommend getting these almost as a must-have for this car, just to protect the front bumper primarily and everything else, just to keep everything in check. I did also upgrade the servo, and I think I'm running a different radio in this as well. So without further ado, let's get to it. I'm going to need to open up the receiver box, remove the cover from the ESC and unplug everything. Also, you know, remove the motor and all that. So it shouldn't be a very hard install. It's just there's a few screws to get to, that's all. So in order to unplug your ESC, you just undo 3 screws outside of the receiver box. So not the ones on top here. You only remove the ones on top if you actually need access to your receiver. But to unplug either the servo or the ESC, you take out these 3 screws on the outside of the receiver box. So one there, and another one back here as well. Once those come off, you can lift the receiver box like so, and you can see that everything's plugged in. This is done because this is a completely watertight receiver box, and this is all like silicone sealed in there and everything, and these plugs just kind of sit on the outside here. So the plug to the ESC is this one currently that has the zip tie on it. We're just going to unplug that, and that's it, boom. I can now start removing my ESC cover and unsticking it from here, and you know, then I've got to go and put the connectors on the new ESC and then get this guy back in here, plug it all in, put the receiver box back on top, and that job will be done. Okay, so just a really quick update. Something that I forgot to mention is that you got to remove 2 additional screws here to get this on and off switch off the car. So there's one all the way down the bottom there and another one on this side. That kind of holds this cover in place, and then you know, you can remove the ESC clean out. Now I've already mounted up my connectors on my new ESC, and that will sit in here like so, but I did notice that this cover won't exactly fit back on. I mean, it does slide over the top of the ESC, but the ESC is a bit taller, so this doesn't actually touch all the way down to the bottom. So for you to put this cover back on, you'd need longer hardware to be able to reach all the way to the actual you know, top deck of this car. And on top of that, you may actually need to raise the body posts so that the body, or this, isn't rubbing onto the underside of the body. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to leave it off. which is, you know, it's going to be fine. It'll just be held in place with some double-sided tape, and a lot of RCs have their ESCs mounted up like that, so I know that that'll be okay. And the other thing to note is that the switch is, well, rather the cable for the switch is not as long as the original one, so I can't actually mount it on that same position, which is going to suck a little bit because now I'm going to have a hole there. So what I'm going to do is, once the ESC is mounted into place and I've got my receiver box mounted back into place as well, I'm just going to mount the on and off switch on top here, and that's pretty much where it's going to live. So it'll be pretty much, or just a little bit taller than the where the ESC sits. Hopefully it's not going to interfere with the body. I know that the antenna is sticking up here as well, so if the antenna is not hitting the body, we should be fine, and that's where I'm going to leave that. So that's going to work like that. And that's pretty much it. So I can now move on to the next step, which is removing the motor and then start mounting everything back together. All right, so there we are. We are done, and that is what my setup looks like. Actually, it doesn't look too bad. The cables kind of run over the top here. You can see the motor cables kind of zigzag through here, and it's kind of okay to have them like that because it's not touching the motor, so it actually misses the motor, which is pretty good. I was going to cut them, but you know, it doesn't look too bad like that. It's fine. And my on and off switch is up there, and that's pretty much it. So very quick install, nothing too complicated. Now, when it comes to pinion size, I'm running a 14 tooth in here, but I did have a 16 in at the start of the video. I had an intention to run a 16. I had it in there, and I fired this thing up on 16 with a 16 tooth pinion on 4S, and it's just insane. Like, the wheel speed is crazy. These things multiplied like by 3. So I don't think I'll be able to control the car with a 16 tooth. So I've dropped it down to a 14, which probably not going to be a huge difference, but you know, whenever you put a new system into a car, gearing is always going to be a little bit trial and error. You might need to get 2 or 3 pinions until you actually find the one that works best with the battery that you're using. So I'm going to go with the 14. We'll see how it behaves. I'll run it on 3S and then 4S, which is what I've got in here at the moment, and we'll take it from there. Now, before I finish off this video, I do want to run a couple of things through the car and kind of show you how to calibrate the ESC and talk a little bit about the program card as well that this combo comes with, which I actually forgot to mention at the start of the video. So first things first, let's calibrate the ESC. Now, whenever you calibrate an ESC, make sure that you do one of 2 things. You either take the wheels off the car, or you prop the car up on a box or some stilts or something, so that if you do mess up and when you turn the car on, the car just decides to shoot off on you, the wheels aren't touching the ground. So it's less likely that things are going to go bad. Now, I've already done this once or twice, so I know how to calibrate. I know everything's going to be okay, but I've still got the wheels off the ground, and just for a bit of a safety precaution. So what we're going to be looking at here, I'm going to bring the car closer so you can see, and I'll bring my radio up as well. So I got it hooked up to my DX5C. There's a little LED light indicator here, so you've got to keep an eye out on that. And then there's this little red button next to the on and off switch. We got to press that first, hold that down as you turn the car on. This light will, there'll be 2 LEDs that will come on, a red and a blue. They'll come on simultaneously, and they'll stay on until the red goes out and only the blue light stays on. Once the blue light is on, you can let go of the switch, and then you're in calibration mode. And essentially all you do is you hold full throttle, wait for the light to blink, it'll beep once, go full reverse, wait for the light to blink, it'll beep twice, and then let go into neutral, and it'll beep 3 times after the light blinks, and then it'll switch off, like the LED will switch off. You won't have throttle control. You'll need to turn it back off and on to get it going again. So let's do this. Let's actually go through the process. So we're going to press and hold that little red set button. We're going to turn this on. You can see the light on there. Wait till it turns blue. There it is, blue, so we can let go. Press and hold. 1 beep. Go full reverse. 2 beeps. Let go into neutral. 3 beeps, and you can see the LED light is off. So turn that off, turn that back on, and we are calibrated. We're ready to go. So it'll do your, depending on what battery you're running, 2S, 3S, or 4S, it'll beep accordingly. And then we are good to go. All right, so that is pretty much how you calibrate these ZTW ESCs. With the Hobbywing ones, you know, like the original one, it's a little bit different. You press and hold that set button as well, but you have to press it every time you calibrate the forward and reverse and so forth. So it's a little bit different. That's why I thought it was important to kind of show you how to do this one. Now, a couple other things to note. One is the program card, how this plugs into the ESC. With the original Hobbywing one, you actually unplug the fan unit here and you plug your program card into there. So there's an additional cable that goes between the program card and the ESC, and then you can program it that way. With this one, there's no fan plug to undo, so you actually need to unplug the ESC from the receiver and plug it into this port right here. So this guy here, so you can see it's got the signal, plus and minus little emblems there engraved on the in front of the switch. That's where you plug it in, and then you've got 10 parameters that you can adjust. I adjusted 3 of them. 2 I think are actually pretty good, but the other one's really more my personal choice. Okay, so the first one I adjusted was the voltage cutoff. This comes out of the factory set at 3 volts. I adjusted to 3.2. The other thing I changed was the reverse, where is it? Yeah, the reverse percentage throttle, so how fast you want it to go in reverse. It comes out of the factory at 60, I dropped it down to 50. I don't think you really need to go too fast in reverse, so I've left it as it is. And then the other one was the braking percentage. Again, this comes out of the factory set at 60, which sounds a little bit high for me. I dropped it down to 40. So the original ESC on the E5HX, these come set at 75% with the brakes out of the factory. I always set mine to 37.5, which is what the ESC allows you to set it to. And that seems to work really well for a car this size and this weight. So I've sort of gone by that. I think 60 is a little bit too close to 75, so I dropped it down to 40, which is pretty close to 37.5. So it should give me a very similar sort of setup to how the original ESC kind of works. And that's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to show you. Just sort of run you through this entire setup. I think this is going to be a lot of fun to drive this car again, especially now I've got a new remote set up with it, which is the DX5C, new power system, which is the ZTW Beast power system. This is a 3500 kV 3660 size motor, which I think is going to be awesome. And running on 4S, I hope that this can actually handle it. I hope the diffs are good enough to handle this sort of power, because it would be a shame if I end up with having too many problems with it. But even so, I can probably gear up a little bit more and just run it on 3S. We'll see. It's going to be a bit of trial and error. It's a bit of fun and just a bit of an experiment to show what these systems can do and what this car can take. So that's where I'm going to leave this video, guys. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here, and check out the video description for more links to more videos on this car, as well as my social media pages. I thank you all again for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.